welcome to part 5 of this small series of building this diorama. First, before I do anything else, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone who's been subscribing, putting likes and commenting on the videos, not just from this mini-series but for all the videos on the channel. They're really much appreciated. So now the figures are going onto the board, it's starting to take shape, starting to come to a conclusion. Now I've begun to work on the tram poles that come with the kit from Miniart. So along with doing a little bit of research, looking through some old pictures from the times of how they would have looked and how the trams would have been operated, I've got some idea of how they should be put together. So for a base coat, I gave them a coat of red and metallic grey, followed by the hairspray before the chippering process, and then finally a coat of metallic grey and green as a finishing touch. So to chip them, I used the normal technique of applying a little bit of water onto the plastic, and then with a very small brush it's just rubbed away the green paint on the top, revealing the red one underneath, and they've come out quite nicely. Not quite as hasn't come out quite as well as I hoped it might be, but it's quite a subtle colour, so that's still pretty cool. And then also what I've done on a little bit of highlight, I've lightened the green colour with a little a lighter colour, and then just highlighted some of the details on the poles further down as well, as you can see here, just to give it a little bit more interest. And then finally, for the first time, I used some of this Mig's oil brusher, and it's pretty good. It comes in a little brush like that, and I just applied it straight onto the plastic, and then used a little bit of white spirit just to dampen it down and to blend in, and the effect of a little bit of rust in certain places is quite nice. To finish off is the wires going across. These two little pieces are in the kit, but the wire in between them to join them all up, I used some fuse wire. The first one, this top one here, the 5 amp lighting, and that's just run across using a little bit of super glue. A little bit fiddly, but we got there. And then again, this wire will join up the two poles once it's onto the model, so they can now go on to the dio itself. My final two kits have arrived, both from Stalingrad Miniatures. The first one, Refugee Boy with Possessions. This kit is nice because it comes in separate pieces. A lot of this will go into the cart as possessions of the refugees, and some of it will go down in the bottom left hand corner, just to create a little scene with a little boy and his mother. So that's all really very nice. The second one is a woman and a boy, and the idea of these two sets, I'm going to mix and match them a little bit. This lady will be tending to the little boy from this set. That's him there. They're really nicely detailed kits, really nice to paint. And then the idea of here, the two little boys' heads from two separate kits are very similar size, so I'm going to swap them over. And the reason for that is because one of the German soldiers from the scene will be placing the helmet onto the little boy's head just as a little joke. So the idea will be he will be facing the soldier as such, and his head, since it's not got the hat on, will be easier to use. Maybe we just have to lower that a little bit, and that'll be the scene up against the building that the guys are laughing at whilst they're drinking their champagne. Okay, so I've just given the base a fresh coat of black paint just to freshen things up a little bit, and whilst that's drying, I just thought I'd show you the plaque that I made to go on the front of the board. I think I mentioned in part 4 that I was going to go to a few printers to see if they would print straight onto the plastic, and one of them said they would just use a transfer to transfer it on. So I thought, well, since I've got that paper myself, I could give that a go. So simply what I did is using the transfer paper that I use for signs and notices. Just printed that design, the design that I had of the photographs and the text, went straight onto the paper using it with the printer, and then after that just made it waterproof with the gloss spray, and then transferred it straight onto the plastic. It was quite delicate and flimsy to move around because it was such a fine piece of paper, but once it was on, I was pretty pleased with the final result. It all came out quite well. The text just simply explains a bit of history to what's going on in the Dio, and a few photos obviously either side of similar situations during the war. So that came out quite good. I also had a nameplate made. I use nameplates.co.uk, and they're a great service. A number of different fonts and finishes that they use. I really recommend them. English company, and that's going to go on the front of the board. This is how it would look. It's not stuck down because the paint is still really wet, but it's just give you an idea. And then the little nameplate will sit just about in the center there, and it should give the model a nice finish. So now I've got things nearly completed. I just thought I'd show you a couple of things that I've added onto the Dio. Firstly, I thought I'd add a little bit more detail and some colour. So I made up some signs, some street signs, one at the back here for a butcher's, using Google Translate to translate, and the other one is in the hole, cut up. Some of it is in the hole and some of it's out on the street. Using an image from the First World War, I found this. On the internet. The butcher's says fresh meat, sausages, bacon and ham, and the other one, like I said, is the printers. So simply all I did was create my own signs using the computer, cut some balsa wood to the size that I wanted the sign to be, and then simply made it waterproof with a sealer, transferred the paper over onto the wood, painted the wood first, and then just gave it all a weathering. So that it looked like it had been there some time. The next thing I've done is add the trio to the bottom left hand corner here, the grandmother, mother and son from Stalingrad Miniatures. They just added a little bit of further human element to the model. As usual, Stalingrad figures delight to paint and to detail, really nice little figures, and they've set off the scene further. Next to them is the hole, which has now got a little bit of water in the bottom. The water that I use to create that, at the moment I use deluxe solid water, 2-part resin. This is what I've used from day one of modelling, although there are many other different products you can use. It's not a lot of movement in the water. Maybe I could have added a bit more detail in there, but I'm pleased with the way that's been filled in. As you can probably see, the cart has now got all the belonging inside. They again were from Stalingrad Miniatures. They came initially with the set with this little boy, and they filled out the cart really well, all the little bits and pieces. That looks quite nice, bit of colour there. And also all the bottles now, the crates of the champagne and the cognac have all been added. I think I did 6 crates initially, and then scattered a couple of the bottles, or more than a couple of the bottles, around the scene, discarded bottles that the guys have been drinking. Here you might be able to see I've spilled a little bit of tissue in a tree, but that's basically is just to add again further detail. Once that's dry, I've just done it now, that'll be painted and weathered a little bit. And I've also finally added some leaves, some dried leaves, scattered those around, some in the parkway. And what I do to do the leaves is I use these in the autumn, go around, pick up all the dried leaves that I can. This would last a long time, and then simply, once they're all dried out thoroughly, split the leaves up as so, taking out the main vein. This is the hard part we don't want, and you're left with the leaf, and then roughly chop it up. And you come, if you can see that, you come with those different coloured leaves obviously, these are the bit more brown and green, and then once that I really need them, what I do is chop them up even finer, so we come to almost a powder. That's quite good to scale, and then just scatter those around onto the model. I've also got a few little boxes, a MIG-Do one, I'm not sure where Model Scene is another one, and they do actually individual proper leaves, but I find these do a pretty good job, and then finish off with the detail.